I always thought the worst day of my life would be something big. A car crash. A call from the hospital. But it wasn't. It was a quiet evening at a fancy Italian restaurant on my wedding anniversary. My name is Daniel Cooper. I'm 41 years old. I live just outside Denver, Colorado. I've spent the last 17 years working as a mechanical engineer, the kind of guy who fixes problems with logic and precision. But nothing in my career prepared me for what I saw that night. We were at Del Frisco's, her favorite place. White linen tablecloths, candles, wine. She wore that red dress I loved. The one from our honeymoon in Napa. I'd planned the whole night. A surprise necklace in a small velvet box, champagne, and maybe, just maybe, I thought we could finally start trying for a family again. She was smiling, laughing, acting like everything was perfect. And then, her phone buzzed. Normally, she'd ignore it. But this time, she glanced at the screen, and I saw it. A name. One I didn't recognize. She flipped it over in a second, but it was too late. I excused myself, told her I had to use the restroom. But I didn't go to the restroom. I walked to the valet, told him I left my wallet in the car, and grabbed her backup phone from the glove box. The one she thought I didn't know about. I sat on a bench just outside the restaurant. My hands were shaking as I opened it. No password. Big mistake. The first thing I saw was a message. Can't wait to see you again tonight. Happy anniversary, babe, face blowing kiss. It wasn't from me. And it wasn't the only one. I spent the next 15 minutes scrolling through messages that tore my world apart. Photos. Hotel bookings. Audio notes. 3 years. She had been with him for 3 years. And she had the nerve to sit across from me, smiling, on the day we were supposed to celebrate our life together. I put the phone in my coat pocket, walked back inside, and smiled like nothing was wrong. Because in that moment, something inside me broke, but I didn't cry. I just watched her. I watched the woman I thought I knew. And I began to plan. She had no idea what I had just read. But from that moment forward, I wasn't her husband anymore. I was her reckoning. People used to tell me I was lucky. And for a while, I believed them. I met Emily during my final year at the University of Michigan. I was 23, buried in late-night projects and internships, and she was a marketing major with a laugh that cut through every room. We bumped into each other at a bookstore, literally, and she spilled coffee on my only clean resume copy. She apologized 3 times, bought me a fresh cup, and before I even realized what was happening, we were sitting across from each other, laughing about life, our futures, and how she thought engineers were. Mysterious and a little robotic. I didn't take offense. I liked that she saw through the quiet. From day one, she brought color to my gray. While I stressed over deadlines, she danced barefoot in the kitchen, making playlists and pasta at midnight. She was chaos, but the kind that made you feel alive. We dated for 4 years before I proposed. I was never the romantic type, but with her, I tried. Candlelight, sunset rooftop, the whole 9 yards. She cried, said yes, said I was the safest heart she'd ever known. That sentence, it stayed with me. We got married in the fall. Colorado was painted in orange and red leaves, and she looked like something out of a dream walking down the aisle. Our first apartment was small, just 2 rooms and a stubborn heater, but it was ours. Emily made everything feel warm. Birthday cards hidden in my lunchbox. Sticky notes on the bathroom mirror that said, "I'm proud of you, nerd." Every Sunday morning, She'd wake up before me and make blueberry pancakes, my favorite, with that ridiculous apron that said, "Flippin' awesome." And I, God help me, loved her more with every small thing she did. In those first few years, we were building a real life. I'd come home exhausted from 12-hour shifts, and she'd be there, curled up on the couch, wine glass in hand, Netflix already paused on our favorite crime series. We traveled too. San Diego, Boston, even Iceland once, where I proposed again at the edge of a glacier just for the hell of it. That's the life I thought we had. Now that I look back, there were signs. Not flashing neon ones, but quiet, whispering ones that I ignored. Her phone habits changed around year 7. She started taking it everywhere, even to the bathroom. No big deal, I told myself. Everyone needs privacy. Then came the gym obsession. Emily had never cared much for fitness. But suddenly, she was doing 5 a.m. sessions, hiring personal trainers, and posting motivational quotes online. Again, I applauded her drive. Maybe she was just finding herself. But sometimes, she wouldn't come home until 9 p.m. "Oh, traffic was crazy," she'd say, kissing me lightly on the cheek. "Sorry, babe, wanna order Thai?" And I'd nod. Because love, real love, trusts without demanding proof. Then, there was the password change. One afternoon, her phone buzzed while she was in the shower. I picked it up, intending to silence it, and saw the lock screen had changed. For years we'd had the same passcode, our wedding date. I asked her about it. She laughed. "Oh, weird. Must have been a phone update. I'll fix it." She never did. But she kept loving me. Or at least, that's what I told myself. She still remembered anniversaries. Still held my hand during scary movies. Still said, "I love you," every night before bed. I convinced myself I was paranoid. That life was just busier now. That the spark fading was natural after a decade together. But I missed her. Not physically. She was there. But emotionally. I'd look at her across the dinner table and wonder, "What are you thinking about right now?" And for the first time, I had no idea. Still, I held on. Because when you build your whole world around someone, your time, your routines, your dreams, the idea of losing it feels like death. I remember this one night in particular. She was asleep, her hair spread across the pillow, breathing slow. I just lay there, watching her, heart aching with a question I couldn't voice out loud. "Are you still mine?" But I never asked. I just kissed her forehead and turned off the light. She used to call me her hero. Then one day she stopped. And I didn't know how to ask why without sounding like I was already defeated. There's a kind of silence that doesn't bring peace. It's not the calm after a storm. It is the storm. Just quieter. That's what life became in our home. I stopped asking where she was going. She stopped offering answers. Her smiles became shorter. Her hugs became looser. And every time I looked at her, really looked at her, it felt like I was staring at a stranger wearing my wife's face. I remember one night. She was in the shower. I was sitting on the edge of the bed, staring at her phone on the nightstand. It lit up. Unknown caller. I froze. I wasn't the snooping type. I hated it. It felt like betrayal. But something in my gut screamed. And you know what your gut does when the truth is close? It panics. Because deep down, you already know. I didn't answer the call. I just picked up the phone, unlocked it. Yes, the passcode was still changed, and stared at the screen. That's when I saw it. A name I didn't recognize. Dozens of messages. All recent. All private. I opened one thread. My hands were shaking. Heart pounding so hard it hurt. Can't wait to see you again. Last night was incredible. I wish I could fall asleep next to you every night. And then? He's clueless. Always has been. He still thinks I love him. I swear, in that moment, my entire chest caved in. The air left my lungs like someone punched me with the truth. This wasn't just some flirtation. This wasn't a rough patch. This was betrayal. Deliberate. Cold. Ongoing. She stepped out of the shower minutes later, towel wrapped around her, smiling slightly. And I smiled back. I didn't say a word. Not that night. Not the next morning. Not for the entire week that followed. Because I wasn't ready to hear what I already knew. Because admitting it meant everything I'd built, everything I believed, was fake. I started observing her like a detective. Not like a jealous husband, but like a man searching for the moment his world fell apart. She began leaving earlier, coming back later, texting in corners, turning the screen away from me. Her laughter, once so full, now felt forced. Like she was laughing at a joke I wasn't allowed to hear. One Saturday I followed her. She said she was going to a yoga retreat. I knew it was a lie. She hated yoga. I stayed back, waited 20 minutes, then drove behind her. She didn't go to a retreat. She went to a house, one I'd never seen before, in a neighborhood 40 minutes away. I parked at a distance. Watched her ring the doorbell. A man answered. They hugged. Then kissed. Long. Comfortable. Familiar. And that was the moment something inside me died. But instead of exploding, I drove back home. Quiet. Calm. Because the pain was too big to scream at. It was the kind you bury deep, like a coffin inside your chest. That night, she came home and acted normal. Made pasta. Asked how my day was. Laughed at a joke on TV. And I played along. Because I was no longer trying to save the marriage. I was trying to understand the depth of the deception. How long had it been going on? Who was he? Was she planning to leave me? Or worse, was she planning to stay and just keep lying? Over the next few weeks, I gathered evidence. Quietly. Screenshots. Receipts. GPS records. Every late-night meeting. Every fake story. I wasn't building a case for revenge. I was building a goodbye. But I needed time. I needed to think. Because this wasn't just about love anymore. It was about everything. We had joint accounts. We shared property. And most of all, we had memories. What do you do when the person who is your home becomes your hurricane? Then came the moment I couldn't fake it anymore. She asked me casually, "Do you still love me?" I stared at her. She was wearing one of my old shirts, holding a glass of wine, acting like the woman I once knew. And I answered honestly, "I don't know who you are anymore." Her eyes froze. And for a brief second, I saw fear. Not guilt. Not shame. Fear. Like someone just realized their mask was slipping. She laughed it off, said I was being dramatic, but I didn't push. I just nodded. And quietly, I began to prepare for the storm that was coming. Because some endings aren't explosive. They're slow. Silent. Like watching a rope fray, strand by strand, until it snaps. You don't need fire to burn a house down. Sometimes, all it takes is silence, and a lie told one too many times. You can hold your breath for only so long. You can pretend, smile, numb yourself. But eventually, the pain finds a crack. And then, everything spills out. That day started like any other. She was humming in the kitchen, flipping pancakes. I was at the table, reading the news, sipping my coffee. But inside, I wasn't there anymore. I was living in rewind. Every word she'd lied about. Every moment she'd stolen. Every kiss she gave someone else. While I waited at home, loving her blindly. She sat down with her plate and asked, "Are you okay? You've been quiet lately." That was it. That sentence? It hit me like a sledgehammer. Because for the first time in months, she was pretending to care, and I couldn't play along anymore. I put down my cup slowly, looked her dead in the eye, and asked just one question. "How long have you been sleeping with him?" The words hung in the air like smoke after a fire. She froze, eyes wide, mouth open, like her soul was buffering. What? What are you talking about?" I didn't blink, didn't flinch. "Don't insult me, Emma. I followed you. I saw you. I know everything." And just like that, the mask shattered. She didn't deny it. She didn't even try to cry. She just looked away. Like the truth was boring now. Like I was a minor inconvenience in her fantasy life. I felt my throat tighten, but I held it in. "Why?" I asked. "After everything we built, after everything we survived, why him? Why lie?" She shrugged. A shrug. "I don't know. I felt alive with him. He made me feel wanted again." That's when my heart cracked for the final time. "So I didn't make you feel wanted? The man who stood by you when you were sick? Who paid for your dad's funeral when your family had nothing? Who worked nights so you could chase your art dreams?" She looked at me and said it. "Maybe that's the problem. You were too perfect. I didn't feel needed. I felt trapped." Silence. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I wasn't angry. I was hollow. Like someone reached into my chest and scooped out the last bit of hope I had. "So what now?" I asked. "Are you leaving?" She didn't answer right away. Just pushed her food around with a fork and muttered, "I was hoping we could keep things peaceful. Maybe stay friends." Friends. Friends. After everything. After every lie. After destroying the very meaning of love. She wanted peace. She wanted friendship. I stood up. Calmly. Walked to the drawer. Pulled out a thick envelope. Dropped it on the table. "These are the divorce papers. I already had them drawn up. I've signed them. You don't even have to read them. Just sign." She blinked. "You're serious?" "Dead serious." She looked stunned. Like she had been betrayed. Like I was the one ending it all. "You're really just giving up? Just like that?" I laughed. A bitter, broken laugh. "No, Emma. You gave up. You gave up when you fell into another man's arms and told him I was clueless. You gave up when you kissed him while I was cooking your favorite meal. You gave up long before I did." She didn't have a response. For once, she had nothing to say. That night, I packed a bag. Not because I was kicked out, but because I refused to spend one more night in that haunted house of lies. Before I left, I stood in the living room, looked around. The photos, the memories, the couch where we once laughed till we cried. All of it felt like props in a play I didn't realize was fiction. She watched me from the hallway. Eyes red. Not crying. Just processing. And then she said the last thing I ever expected. "You'll regret this. I turned, looked her in the eye one last time. No, I'll regret staying with someone who treated love like a backup plan. And then I walked out. It rained that night. Cliché, I know. But somehow, it fit. As I drove away, windshield wipers clearing my view, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Clarity. It wasn't peace. Not yet. But it was the start of something real. Because sometimes, the biggest betrayal isn't what they do behind your back. It's how long you keep pretending it didn't happen. The scariest part about betrayal isn't the knife in your back. It's how long you kept handing them the blade, believing they'd never use it. People think the hardest part is the breakup. It's not. The hardest part is the morning after. When you wake up and realize the silence is permanent now. No messages. No breakfast waiting. No one in the other room. Just you and the echo of everything that used to be. That first morning in the motel was brutal. I stared at the ceiling for an hour. Didn't move. Didn't speak. Didn't cry. I wasn't even sure I could. It was like someone had unplugged all the feelings inside me, left only static. But eventually I stood up, splashed cold water on my face, looked in the mirror, and I saw him. The man I had lost in the middle of love. The man who bent over backwards for someone who was never really his. And for the first time in a long time, I made a decision. No more begging for love that doesn't want to stay. Cutting the anchor. I deleted her number, blocked her social media, put every photo, every letter, every reminder of her in a box, and left it behind. Not out of hate, but because I couldn't breathe with the weight of her still on my chest. I wasn't trying to move on fast. I was just trying to move it all. Some days I couldn't. I'd sit in the dark, replaying conversations that now felt fake. I'd ask myself, was I not enough? Did I miss the signs? What if I'd done more, said more, loved better? But the truth was, you can give your whole heart to someone, and they'll still choose someone else if they never valued it to begin with. Finding what was always there. I started walking. Not for fitness. Not for peace. Just to feel something. Anything. Miles of quiet roads. Cold wind on my face. And slowly, thoughts began to untangle. I remembered things I hadn't thought of in years. Like how I used to love sketching. How I once dreamed of starting a podcast. How I'd always wanted to travel solo, but never had the time or the permission. Emma always said it was silly. That I was too practical to chase creative nonsense. But now, I had no one to ask for permission. And in that emptiness, I found something dangerous. Freedom. I rented a tiny apartment. Just one room and a cracked window. Didn't matter. It was mine. I made a schedule. Woke up early. Wrote in a journal. No filters. No fake strength. Just raw thoughts. I miss her. But I don't miss the lies. I was loyal to someone who was loyal to their options. She didn't break me. She revealed the cracks I ignored. And slowly, pain turned into perspective. Anger turned into energy. I started sketching again. Bought a cheap mic and began recording thoughts late at night. Not for followers. Not for fame. Just for me. Every word was a step away from who I used to be. And a step toward who I was becoming. People think closure comes with an apology. But sometimes, the apology never comes. You have to give yourself the closure. I stopped waiting for her to say she was sorry. I stopped needing her to realize what she'd lost. Because the truth is, some people never see your worth until you stop handing it to them for free. One night, I sat on the floor, looked up at the cracked ceiling, and whispered, "I forgive you. Not because you deserve it, but because I deserve peace." And with that, a piece of the pain finally loosened its grip. Months passed. The man in the mirror started to look different. Sharper eyes, straighter posture, a stillness that wasn't numbness, but control. I had no revenge plan. No need to prove anything. Because healing doesn't mean you win. It means you stop bleeding. One day, I opened my email and saw a message. Subject, Emma. "Hey, I saw your podcast clips on Instagram. Didn't know you had that in you. Looks like you're doing great. Just wanted to say I'm proud of you." I stared at it for a moment, then hit delete. Didn't even open it, because I wasn't the same man she left behind. That version of me died the day I realized I was enough all along. She just wasn't the one meant to see it. Sometimes the person who breaks you is the one who pushes you to become the version of yourself that no one else ever could. Dear me, I know you're hurting. You're lying on the motel bed right now, staring at the ceiling, wondering how the hell this became your life. Your chest is hollow. Your hands won't stop shaking. Your brain keeps playing that one scene over and over again, like a horror film on loop. You loved her. You believed her. You would have given your life for her. But she gave your life to someone else. And now you feel like nothing. Like a man who lost not just a relationship, but himself. But listen to me. This is not the end. This is the start of everything. You think you're weak right now. You think crying makes you soft. That you failed. That you weren't enough. But one day you'll see. You didn't break. You just bent too far for someone who didn't care if you snapped. You'll learn that love isn't supposed to make you feel small. It's not supposed to make you beg. And it damn sure isn't supposed to make you doubt your own sanity. You'll stop blaming yourself. You'll realize she wasn't home. She was just a house with broken locks and open doors. And anybody could walk in. And she let them. But let me tell you what happens next. You start walking. You start writing. You start creating. At first, it's just to distract yourself. But eventually, it becomes therapy. Then strength. Then your identity. And slowly, the man who gave everything to the wrong person starts giving it to the right person. Himself. You'll be alone, yes. But in that space, you'll meet yourself. Not the version of you that was shaped to keep her happy. Not the version that smiled through red flags. Not the version that apologized just to keep the peace. No. You'll meet the version who never needed her in the first place. The one who was buried under guilt, sacrifice, and blind love. And when you meet him, you won't want to be anyone else ever again. She'll come back. Oh yes, she will. When she sees you rising. When she hears your voice reaching thousands. When your name starts showing up in places she never expected. She'll want a second chance. But you won't reply. Not because you're bitter. But because by then, you'll know that some doors close for a reason. You don't need revenge. You don't need her tears. You just need peace, and you'll have it. So to anyone listening, if you've been cheated on, lied to, broken, ghosted, or replaced, don't chase closure from the person who shattered you. Look in the mirror. Say it with me. I am not the damage done to me. I am the rebuilding. Your healing won't be loud. It won't be quick. It won't be pretty. But it will be worth it. Because one day, you'll stand tall, stronger, sharper, unapologetically you. And when that day comes, you won't thank her for leaving. You'll thank yourself for surviving. She thought breaking me was the end of my story, but it was the beginning of my legacy. Aftermath, the lesson, the life beyond. It's been over a year since everything fell apart. Since that night when I discovered her betrayal, my life changed in ways I never imagined. I left the chaos behind, the pain, the anger, the shattered trust. I moved to a quiet cabin near Lake Tahoe, surrounded by the calm of nature and the fresh mountain air. Here, I rebuilt not just my home, but my spirit. The first few months were tough. The silence was deafening, and the nights were lonelier than ever. But slowly, I found solace in the little things: the rustling of leaves, the gentle waves lapping the shore, the quiet hum of the forest. It was here that I learned to breathe again, to live again. I started spending more time with my kids. They needed me, and I needed them more than I realized. Watching them grow, laugh, and dream reminded me of what truly mattered. Being a father became my new anchor, my motivation to keep moving forward. I also reconnected with passions I had long forgotten. Painting became my therapy, each brushstroke a release of pain and hope. Hiking through the mountains reminded me that life is about the journey, not just the destination. These small joys slowly stitched the pieces of my broken heart back together. Betrayal doesn't break you. It reveals you. It strips away the false layers and exposes who you really are beneath the hurt. I discovered strength I didn't know I had, resilience I never believed was possible. She destroyed the life we built together, the dreams, the plans, the future I thought was ours. But in the ashes of that destruction, I found myself. A stronger, wiser, freer version of me. And for the first time in a long time, I felt peace. Not because I forgave her, but because I chose to heal on my own terms. This new life isn't defined by what I lost. It's defined by what I gained: freedom, clarity, and a future I'm building with my own hands. And so, this story ends not with bitterness or regret, but with hope. A hope that no matter how dark the night, the dawn always comes. And when it does, you'll be ready to rise. She destroyed the life we built, but in the ashes, I found myself. And I've never been more free.